right, Ranger fans, we can flush that loss, whatever that was. Not a great way to start the new season, but it's only one game. Hey, everybody, I'm Todd Werwa, your host for Rangers Daily. Please subscribe. Please ring the bell below. Please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you thought about opening night. Let's start with some of the fun stuff before we get to the game breakdown. 100th anniversary celebration. It was kind of cool. The introductions, everybody coming around the center ice circle. It looked great. The sweaters looked fantastic. I love the color. I love that the collar looks like an old school sweater. I know a lot of people are ripping on the collar that they just can't get over, whether it's the white or the cream, whatever it is, the different color. I love it. It looks like it's an old school sweater, dating back to the very beginnings of the game. There were a whole lot of alumni in attendance. That was really cool. I know Graves was there. I know Mateau was there, and a whole bunch of others. And I believe they rang the bell at the stock exchange earlier in the day. A lot of fun going on for the 100th celebration. Igor Shesterkin's pads and blockers and glove, his whole setup, his mask. That dude knows how to put together a kit. It looked unbelievable. Some really, really cool stuff. Take a look at it. Take a look at some of the photos and some of the stills. I know he showed it in practice a few days ago when everybody sort of got to try out some of the gear and that sort of thing. But he looked impeccable. He played really well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get to the game. Not a great start. The first two shifts for the top six, they really couldn't get the puck out of the zone. It set the tone for the whole entire night. Everything just looked disjointed. They certainly got outplayed in that first period. Just like I said, disjointed. Everybody seeming like they were thinking instead of just acting, reacting to plays naturally. It still looked like there was a whole lot of, we're still learning this system. We're still learning how to communicate. We're still learning where each other is supposed to be. The goal, Justin Brazo, is a face-off won by Evgeny Malkin. There were multiple mistakes. Dave Maloney on the post-game said Schneider was set up on the wrong side. Lafreniere and I believe it was Vakanainen left, almost anticipating a face-off win, but the Rangers didn't win the face-off, and it allowed the Penguins to come straight to the net, almost wide open, unmarked, undefended. Mike Sullivan said there were three mistakes on that play, and usually when you make three straight mistakes or three mistakes on the same play, the puck winds up in the back of your net, and it did. So not a good look there in the final half minute of the first period. Bad way to go into the locker room after, I won't say a listless first period, but it was close. It was close. Second period, Rangers turned it around, and they looked good. They outshot Pittsburgh 13-7. The ice felt like it was tilting in the Rangers' favor. Felt like they might get one, but there was just no one. There was no one in front. They were creating maybe some shots, but they weren't creating great rebound chances. They weren't screening Artur Silovs. There just was no pressure right in front of him. There was no one backing in. Even JT Miller looked kind of slow, looked like he hadn't played in a while, which he hadn't. He only got the one preseason game. It was good to see Panarin back, and he looked okay. But the whole team just didn't look, even when things were going well in the second period, still getting out of their zone was difficult. Getting offensive zone time and extended offensive zone time and putting pucks to the net with somebody in front and then winning a battle in the corner and creating more chances. It just wasn't happening in that, in the entire game. Even in the second period, it wasn't happening all that much. And then the third period just seemed like it just went. No urgency, no pressure. Someone mentioned in the post-game presser to Mike Sullivan, didn't seem like there was enough desperation, especially with the empty net. But even desperation in the third, he said, "I don't like that word. It strikes of out of options," which is fair. So he said urgency. was his more preferred adjective. And yeah, they didn't really play with that much urgency. They didn't play with much urgency the entire night. It just looked like they played down to their competition. Trying to find where the goals will come from could be difficult. Ray Ferraro mentioned there's got to be a lot that comes from those top two lines because the defense doesn't really have a lot of points in it, and the bottom two lines probably don't have a lot of points in them. So you're going to need those two top lines to step up, and it looked like they were a step slow on opening night. Like I said, it really was a 1-0 game. That third period didn't have a ton of urgency. They pulled the goalie with about 2:40 left, and Pittsburgh very quickly scored a goal to make it 2-0. And then very quickly after that, again with the empty net, scored to make it 3-0, and that was your final 3-0. Not exactly what anyone envisioned. They now go to Buffalo on Thursday night for their opener, so we'll see what kind of energy Buffalo has. Again, it's a winnable game if they play right, but this is going to take 10 games. This could take 20 games for relationships to develop, for communication to be solidified, for the whole entire group. And I'll get to some of the post-game quotes in a second, but it'll take a little while for the 5 players on the ice to let things set up in the offensive zone so that instead of just coming over the blue line and taking shots, they can wait, pass it back to the point, let someone get set up in front, cycle the puck. There's a whole lot more that can be done. It just wasn't the greatest night tonight. Some of the post-game quotes sort of indicated that. We'll start with JT Miller, the captain. He was honest. He just said it was not our best, and he's right. But he said it's the first game. I know we'll be better. They're definitely, through all of the sound bites, through everybody's interviews, there seems to be no panic. It's just one game. People were asking questions about mentality and going game to game and stuff like that. It's one game. Take a breath. It was the first time they've had the full lineup in effect the entire preseason. Now having Panarin and JT Miller back in the lineup, having their defensive pairs set up. So give it a little bit of time. Let's take a breath. Last year, I think they won 6-0 in the opening game, and they got off to a great start. I think 12-2-1, and then it just plummeted from there. Let's see. New coach, different system. Let's let them get a few games under their belt and really then potentially start to panic. No, I'm kidding. No, listen, there will be positives. Noah Laba played. Mike Sullivan said he played very well. There are ways he needs to control the puck a little better, but he liked the game that he played, playing in his first NHL game. And it was interesting. Pittsburgh threw a couple of kids out there, their own 18, 19-year-olds, and everybody looked comfortable. Connor Sheary was noticeable, back checking. He played really well. Mika Zibanejad led everybody with 7 shots, and Alexis Lafreniere had 6. So they were getting shots, but none of those were really second chance shots or tips in front, deflections, or either low slot or high slot. There really wasn't much of that. Mika had one right in front, sort of spun around, and Sheilofs made the saves. He was all right tonight, but he can't really say Sheilofs was tested all that much. Adam Fox said they just weren't connected as a group of 5, and that's the thing that needs to develop, right? The more they get accustomed to the system, the more they get up to game speed, the more they communicate, the more they anticipate, the more they figure out, like with communication, just little calls, how I want the puck, exactly where everybody's going to be, all that will develop. But it's that, remember a couple of days ago I talked about, being like an orchestra where everybody, all the musicians are in sync and everybody knows everybody's part and all the parts blend together properly. That was not the case. This would have sounded like a 3rd grade recorder band with the way they played tonight. But again, only one game. Mika Zibanejad said, we need to be a little more direct from D zone to O zone. Yeah, their breakouts really weren't good. A lot of turnovers. Gavrikov had 1 or 2 bad turnovers. That's the key to controlling getting offensive zone time. Even Noah Laba had one great like end-to-end kind of rush where he came, I can't remember whether he came out from the circle or came out from behind the net, took the puck and was getting to the blue line and wanted to chip it in deep, and even his little chip went right to the defenseman and went back the other way for some offensive zone time for Pittsburgh. So just getting out from your D zone, getting through the neutral zone and into the offensive zone, definitely something that needs to be worked on. Mike Sullivan said, "We've got a long way to go to be the team we want to become." And he was very, very, very direct in this is only one game. There's a long way to go. And that's something to obviously remember. But you just figured celebrating the 100th anniversary, opening night, try to win one for the coach, coaching against his old team. They just didn't have that sense of, passion's not the right word, urgency is the best word. They didn't have that directness, that urgency, that we're going to win this no matter what kind of feeling about them tonight. And part of it is because not all of them played as much in the preseason, and it looked like they were a step slow, and then you throw in the thinking instead of just reacting, and you get a 3-0 loss, albeit 1-0 with 2 empty netters. But that's what you get. One real positive to take away from the game, Igor Shesterkin was fabulous, and he was left alone a lot. There were at least 4 different times where it was just him. I think Ray Ferraro expressed it as just him and a Pittsburgh Penguin. And he made the stops. He was really left alone on the one goal that he allowed. Like I said, 3 mistakes from other players. Tough to overcome that with, you need a Herculean effort, and Brazo made a nice shot past him. But Igor was great, looks in midseason form, moving really well, seeing the puck really well. Glove looked really good and controlling. He was playing the puck. He was trying to help some of those breakouts by playing the puck as well. So they'll give it a go on Thursday in Buffalo. They hit the road. We'll see what Game 2 holds, see if we see any improvement from Game 1 to Game 2. Again, this is Rangers Daily. Please subscribe. Please ring the bell for updates. Please leave your comments on the opening night performance. Good, bad, indifferent, however you want to say it. There's a lot to be said after Game 1 and a lot of conjecture for what we might see ahead. But let's see how they make some changes going from Game 1 to Game 2, and then when they play Pittsburgh again in the 3rd game of the season. So again, Rangers Daily, I'm your host, Todd Werwa. I look forward to seeing you next time.